G'day and welcome to Rema's series of short videos where we're going to be looking at this whole idea of Rema's, looking at scriptures where Rema's is applied. Now, the word Rema's is a Hebrew word that it means a hint, a deeper clue, a hidden revelation beneath the surface of the text. And in Jewish teaching, it points to deeper meaning woven into scriptures, the truth that may not be obvious to us in the first glance, but becomes powerful when understood in the context. And Jesus uses a lot of this remez when he speaks to his audience. His audience will always look for that remez, always look for where have they heard this thing before, where have they come across this particular thing. And of course, the remez was also woven into what Jesus was talking. And today's remez comes from one of Jesus' most famous parable, the story of the prodigal son in Luke chapter 15. Now, most people think that this story is simply about a lost son coming home, but there is something deep happening. Jesus says in Luke 15 verse 20, while he was still far off, the father ran to him. While he was still a long way off, his father saw him and was filled with compassion, it says in some manuscripts. And he, the father, ran to his son. Now, to understand why this matters so much, we need to understand something from that culture of that day. If a Jewish son took his inheritance, left people, lost everything among the Gentiles, he could face a ceremony called katsatz. The word for katsatz comes from the Hebrew root katsata, meaning to be cut off. When a boy was born in that culture, parchments were placed into a clay jar every time, and that child goes through a different rite of passage, and those parchment gets put into that jar. But when the boy disrespects, disowned, or does what this boy did in the case of the story that we're looking at, when that person returns home, the village could meet him before he returns to the community. A clay jar containing his passage of right throughout his life would be taken and broken at his feet, and he would be publicly declared cut off. You are katzatz. You are cut off from the people, from this community, from your family. You are rejected, ashamed, no longer belonging. And that is what Jesus' audience would have expected from the prodigal son or in that story. But Jesus changes the story, or he brings in that remez. And he says, while he was still a long way off, the father ran. Now, that on its own would have shocked everyone that were listening, because in that culture, a respected father did not run. It was considered undignified. So why does the father run? And here is the remez, the deep revelation. The father is running to reach the son before the villagers do, before rejection falls, before shame can be placed upon him, before he can be cut off. Because if the father reaches him first, and when the father embraces him publicly, he is declaring, this son is mine. He still belongs, and there is no condemnation for him because I have approached him before. Now, what a picture, what a beautiful picture of the heart of God. And what a confirmation of Romans chapter 8, verse 1, which says, therefore, there is no condemnation for those who are in Christ Jesus. Because many people live believing they are too far gone. They're too broken, they're too ashamed, they're too disqualified. But this story reminds us that God is not waiting to reject you. He is running towards you. This is gospel. And there is always more beneath the surface. So this is Remez with me, Pastor Lichai Berkovich. Leave your comments underneath and let me tell you what you think, and if you would like to subscribe to more of this kind of videos. God bless you and have a good one.